All right, before we get into the video, real quick, thank you guys so much for your support. Also, pin comment, follow me on Twitch, join the Discord. If you like the content, yo, make sure you like. It's free. Don't be broke. You feel me? It's free. Don't be broke. And also subscribe. If you like One Piece content like this, turn on the bells too, man. Let's get straight into the video. Yo, so peep, there I was just chilling, right? Minding my business. And I'm reading that gas pack. And by gas pack, y'all know what I'm talking about. One Piece chapter 1023. It was a banger. So I'm reading it. Things is cool. Everything is going great. And we get to this certain part where Queen talks about the Lunaria race. So we find out we got a name for King's race. Now, Lunaria, I'm going to break that down and talk about the word and what I found when researching. However, there was something interesting because once Queen is talking about this, Marco's over in the corner. He's conundruming and thinking like, do you know the invincible mean? Think, Marco, think. You know what I mean? And he's thinking and he's like, yo, Whitebeard told him about how there was this God race, right? And they were on top of the red line. So I'm like, okay, how was that like relevant? But then he says they were there even before Mary Joyce. And I'm like, hold on. King the Wildfire, Red Line, Mary Joyce. Where's Mary Joyce? And I'm like, yo, Mary Joyce is on the red line. I'm like, okay. But then Big Mom, the big burly chick herself, you feel me? Big swope body bitch, big bowling body bitch. No, I'm just kidding. But no, Big Mom herself said something very interesting. She said King was the last of his race. So I started thinking, okay, red line, last of his race. Mary Joyce is on top of the red line where they used to be at. And then something popped in my head that the homie Gandhi, the bald Mr. Clean with the sword, y'all know, like the shing, he got the what is it, the third grade of the, I think the Katetsu joint or something like that. Y'all know who I'm talking about. He says that the world can't be in balance forever. There may be a need for a great cleansing. So I'm like, yo. And then it started making sense. What if the celestial dragons came here and during this great cleansing before they slaughtered all of King's race? Like, yo, what if they came here and they wanted to put Mary Joyce on top of the red line and they slaughtered the entirety of King's race? And I'm like, yo, shout out to my man's bro, he said some wild stuff. We in VC, he's like, bro, what if they call it the red line because it's stained with the blood of his race? And I'm like, yo, at this point, I'm like on my Jimmy Neutron tip right now. I'm like, brain blast. I'm like, yo, my theory, my third eye opened up, bro. I feel like Hiei with the what's it called? The Jagan eye, bro. I feel like, Tien Shinhan, yo, from Dragon Ball. Like, I'm like, yo. So I start thinking real hard at this point because I'm like, okay, we got to do some research about Lunaria, what lunar means, Lunaria means. So I start getting into my research bag. You feel me? Shout out to Google and all that. So we start researching a little bit and I find something interesting. The first thing I see when I type in Lunaria is a flower. And I'm like, King ain't really a flower. He's King the Wildfire, not King the Wildflower. Like, come on, you know what I mean? So I start looking, but the Lunaria Annua is a honesty or annual honesty in English. That's what it stands for, right? It's a species of flowering plant that's native to the Balkans and Southwest Asia, and it's naturalized throughout the temperate world. So I'm like, okay, click on the Wikipedia page. I'm like, let me dig a little deeper. So the symbolism in the language of flowers, the plant represents honesty, money, and sincerity. In witchcraft, the honesty plant is considered protective, being thought to keep away monsters. The plant is also used in spells for prosperity. The flat pods, when ripe and silvery, resembling coins and therefore being seen as symbolizing promises of wealth. And the earliest surviving recipe for a flying ointment, which is recorded by a physician, Johannes Hartelib, Lunaria is included as the herbal ingredient corresponding astrologically to the moon, and therefore to be picked on the lunar day of Monday. So what's relevant out of that is honesty, prosperity, fighting off monsters. All of that is cool, but it's not really King. What's really interesting is it talks about astrologically being tied to the moon. I'm like, okay, now I ain't gonna cap. I'm not really into astrology and all that. Like, I'm not really big on astronomy and all that, like all the signs and the lunar rising and all that. I'm not really into that because I feel like women be using that to try to box us in. And fellas, like, don't be boxed in. But I think what is so interesting about it is it bringing up the moon, because we know that lunar is kind of related to the moon. So then I go to lunar, right? And I look up a lunar eclipse. So a lunar eclipse occurs when the moon moves into the Earth's shadow. This can occur only when the sun, Earth, and moon are exactly or very closely aligned, and it has Earth between the other two. And only on the night of a full moon. The type and length of a lunar eclipse depends on the moon's proximity to either node of its orbit. All right, so then I'm like, okay, it's related to the sun. So I start looking at King, I start looking at him and I analyze him. I'm like, okay, real edgy, real emo-like, you feel me? Kind of quiet. Got this like leather outfit on, looking like he really nice with a whip and some handcuffs. I'm like, okay, you on this dominatrix type tip. Then I start looking past all of my petty jokes and I start noticing that he has wings, he flies, and he has fire. And I'm thinking, who else in One Piece flies? That's right, ding, 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 the Skypians, who came from the moon. So I'm thinking one of two things here. Let's go to each scenario. On the left hand, we got the red pill, you feel me, related to the sun. The blue pill on the right hand related to the moon. Let's go to the moon first. It's a possibility because someone told me that there is a moon directly over the red line. Now, I don't know if that is true or not. Someone mentioned it to me, and you know, people in One Piece and the community, sometimes they be lying and all that. They just be saying stuff, or they be like, oh, I heard it in this one big game of telephone. Like, I heard from a friend that heard from a friend that heard from a friend that the moon is up there and all that. So it's like, I don't know if it's 100% accurate, but I've heard this. Y'all can fill me in the comments, and I'm sure you will. But is it possible that just like the Shandorians, I believe those are the ones that came down to Earth from the sky? Because it was like moon to clouds to Earth. I think it was Shandorians. I might be wrong. It might be the other ones. I gotta do a reread, bro. I'm really on my fraudulent tip right now. But anyways, what if there's a moon above the red line that they fell onto the red line, and that's where they inhabited the red line and started living there? That's the one scenario. The other one is, what if King's race came from the sun? Because there's sunlight, clearly. There's daytime, there's nighttime. So there's a sun. We've seen it. So it's like, what if, since the Skypians came from the moon, that King's race came from the sun, and that's why they can conjure fire, which would kind of correlate to the opposite and the lunar eclipse. Because if you think about it, Earth is in between the sun and the moon during the lunar eclipse. On one side, you have the moon. On the other side, you got the sun. Maybe King the Wildfire and his race came from the sun, and that's how they ended up coming down to the red line. So we kind of explained like what happened to them. Maybe with the Great Cleansing, we've explained that they could have come from the moon, maybe the sun. But then I started thinking, like, what happens when the eclipse changes into a blood moon? So I started looking up information about a blood moon as well, because that's like a red moon. And a blood moon, it ends up happening when the moon is totally eclipsed and it changes into like a red color, which is caused by Earth completely blocking direct sunlight from reaching the moon. The only light reflected from the lunar surface has been retracted by Earth's atmosphere. The light appears reddish for the same reason that a sunset or sunrise does, the rarely scattering of bluer light. They even got Rarely's name in the description. Like, I know that has nothing to do with it, but I thought that was fire. Shout out to my old man, Big Rarely. Yo, Rarely's beating Superman in a 1v1. Shout out to my man Vor for telling me that. That's facts. But anyways, my point being is that the red moon could symbolize like the red line in a way. Now, I know I'm kind of reaching here. I feel like Dow Sim right now, really reaching, and I spit fire. Shout out to Dot. But like, my point being is that it's a possibility that it's like opposites, that there's a yin and yang. That maybe King's race isn't bad people, but I'm saying yin and yang in the sense that there's Skypians and then there's King's race. That could have been a race of demons, but Whitebeard's calling them gods, so I don't really know. But my point being is them coming from the sun explains a lot if it has something to do directly with conjuring fire. Now, like I said, we've covered the who and the how, but the why. Why did the celestial dragons kill them? Why did they feel like they had to slaughter them? Someone brought up something interesting to me in the VC. Like, we was talking, we chilling, we chatting it up. And he says, yo, Sin, what if King and his race had some type of deal or correlation with the celestial dragons and they got betrayed? And I started thinking to myself, like, yo, why would they do that? And then it really dawned on me. They've been completely erasing history this entire time, blocking everybody from knowing the true history of the world. And whoever's King races, this Lunarian people, they were before Mary Joyce, so they were most likely in the void century. This is another piece of history that they're trying to cover up. another wrongdoing that they've done that they're trying to get rid of. Yo, these people ain't shit, bro. Like, they have literally been trying to make a smear campaign and just kind of extinguish the flame. Yo, get it, pun intended, extinguish the flame. Came the wildfire. I'm really spitting bars right now. But they really tried to get rid of the entirety of history because they feel like in their heart of hearts that they've been doing wrongdoings, and in my eyes, they don't want to look bad. They're trying to protect the image. They're trying to look like we're the people in control, we're the good ones. But they have been cleansing entire races. This is why they push the fishermen underwater. This is why the giants really don't mess with nobody and they stay to themselves. This is why King's race is gone. These people that were around for a long time and a long time ago have been completely getting cleansed. They're using cleanse because they feel like they're ridding the world of something bad. Cleanse is to make something, especially the skin, thoroughly clean. The skin has nothing to do with that. I don't know why I added it in, but I had to give y'all the full details. You feel me? I had to keep it real, but especially clean is what's important. They feel like they're cleaning something, that this is dirt. This is a blemish that they're getting rid of, right? And it all boils down to them having slaves. If you think about it, a lot of times this world government, these celestial dragons, you can correlate them to any power in the world. They think that they're better than the people that aren't the same as them. It's all differences. They think the fishmen aren't as good as them. That's why they have to live on the water. They think King's race aren't as good as them, and that's why they slaughtered them all and took their land. They enact genocide on anybody that defiles them. Look at O'Hara. Yo, these people are inherently evil in my eyes. So to me, I think what happened in closing is they came down from wherever they came from, or came to from wherever they came from in the One Piece world. They looked at King's race. They were different than them. They felt like, we're above you. They probably tried to enslave them. It might not have worked. Or they thought they were too powerful, so they befriended them. And then they end up betraying them, realizing that the world is an imbalance, as Gandhi says, meaning, oh, we can't control them. So instead of controlling them and instead of fighting them to control them, let's just get rid of them completely. And then they probably slaughtered the entirety of King's race, landed Mary Joyce right there, and staying on the red line like nothing happened. And as my man Emin Bro said, the blood of King's race probably stained the red line, and that is symbolic. And they just staying there like nothing happened. The world government, in a nutshell, they ain't shit, bro. Like, let's just keep it real. Like, they ain't shit. Anyway, but as always, I hope y'all are staying safe and healthy during these trying times. This has been Synsei Inc., and I will see you all in the next video.